Hey, hello everybody. It's time for another Inkarnate live stream. Today, we're doing watercolor battle maps, and we're going to make a good versus evil map. Hey, Krasnitova, glad that you are here. Awesome, I'm excited for today's stream. Howdy, Your Majesty. Good to have you here. Yeah. Hey, we're doing good versus evil maps with the watercolor battle map style. But hey, you know what? You can do this you can follow along with fantasy battle maps if that's your battle map preference. So it doesn't really matter. I'm just using watercolor because it needs more love. It's a beautiful style, and we're really going to make it shine today with our good versus evil. Yeah. All right. So I'm excited about this. Hey, Cheryl. Awesome. Seeing some familiar faces. I like it. Yeah, we're doing good versus evil. Last time we did how to create points of interest 3, so that was fun. And now we're gonna go do the good versus evil. I'll say it 12 more times just to annoy you, I promise. Just teasing. All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's just jump in. I'm gonna create a new map. I'm gonna go ahead and use the watercolor battle map style. You see there's some nice maps here. I'm going to choose that style. We'll go with high 3K because I want to make sure that you can see those nice, crisp, beautiful stamps. And when you're choosing your aspect ratio, it all depends on the kind of map that you're making. I'm making a battle map, and I kind of feel like a portrait would be kind of nice, especially since I'm using two diametrically opposed forces, good versus evil. So I kind of feel with that, a longer vertical map, I can maybe put the good side, quote unquote, on the top and the bad at the bottom, right? Just to kind of give it some spatial awareness with that. So I'll switch over to portrait. I'm going to go ahead and create the new map. We'll let it load up. Howdy, howdy, Joy-Ann. Welcome. Glad that you are here. Awesome. Yeah, we're making the good, the evil. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right. So first thing I'll probably want to do is I want to change the background to whatever color or texture that I want. If I use pure black, what sometimes happens is I can't see the object shadows or the layer shadowing. So I don't want to make it perfectly black, but I probably do want to use maybe like this stone one. I'm going to use it with a BG layer. And with a quick fill, all I got to do is just click, hold, drag over the whole canvas, press enter, make sure it's set to that BG layer, and I've got the whole canvas colored with the texture that I want, right? Really easy peasy. Next, I'm probably going to want to turn on the grid. And I'm going to use the grid to my advantage to kind of line up walls properly and all that kind of stuff. And there are quicker ways to do walls. You don't have to line up every single individual piece. Copying and pasting, Control-C, Control-V is going to be a lifesaver. So make sure you do that a lot, okay? I'm also going to change the grid settings to where the grid is set to the most bottom layer. Okay, I'm probably going to change the grid settings a little bit too as well. Maybe I can set it to 15. There we go. And that way my grid's a little bit bigger. Well, actually, let's go back. For now, when I line up my walls, I'm going to use this smaller grid. I'm going to change it too because it's got this white glow that's kind of annoying to me. So I'll make those little changes as well. Let's turn off the glow. There we go. Now it's just a black grid. Perfect. Make sure it's set to layer -5. After I've done all that, I'm just going to go ahead and save it right away just so that I have it labeled and ready to go. And I'm just going to call this good versus evil. All right. Again, we're going to use that grid to line up the walls. What I kind of envisioned a little bit before starting was this idea that you have these two opposing forces, right? The forces of good and the forces of evil, right? And when it comes to good and evil, when it comes to the imagery, you know, it's all a matter of personal opinion, what you want to draw inspiration from. For me, my inspirations, I'm going to go just straight from Christendom, right from the Christianity. I know that's a blanket, but there's a lot of imagery there that we can kind of use. It's tropey and it's easy to recognize. So that way it's kind of obvious it's a good versus evil map, right? But we can throw in all kinds of things to represent evil, eerie colors. You can add Lovecraftian tentacles. You can add skulls, death, just kind of those kind of things to kind of give it that eerie, evil look. And with good, there's a lot of options. We can go with an ivory, clouds, kind of a heavenly, ethereal look. We go with that. So it's always nice to come up with a couple come up with a couple images in your head. Oh yeah, I love Norse. Good versus evil is spectacular, absolutely. But less people might be familiar with Norse mythology, with good and evil. So that's why I'm sticking with Christianity, not because it's, you know, the best one or anything like that, just that it's the most recognizable, especially with the kind of viewership that we have. So, but I definitely would recommend playing around with all the different types of mythology when it comes to good and evil. Lots and lots of fun. So for this one, we'll stick with tropey, but I do love Norse mythology. It's absolutely beautiful. Thor, the All-Father God, Odin, all those really cool characters, the Frost Giants, Nidalheim, and all that stuff. So super cool stuff. Totally check that out. So what I'll first do is I maybe want to create the kind of walls that represent each side. So going with walls is a good start. And I've got that grid up to help me line it up. And you know, there are certain packs that might look best for the theme that you're going for. And I really think Gothic horror would be really good for the evil side. So there's this Gothic horror right here. We could also throw in dungeon, I think, because there's probably going to be some nice traps and some blood and stuff like that. So that also kind of goes in with the theme. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting together a palette by just turning off all the packs in the Watercolor Battlemap style and just turning on the packs that are going to work best, that I think are going to work best. Doesn't mean I'm going to keep them here forever, but there's a lot of walls here that are going to be useful. So I'm going to expand my palette so I can go over everything and decide what's going to work good and what isn't. And I think the walls will do good. I think since we're going with kind of Christendom, we're going with Christianity, let's go with kind of an evil walls. Gothic horror has great, so we can go maybe with this fancy red wooden wall right here. It's not really wooden. We'll just say for the sake of this that it's stone or some other material. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So it's about the size, the width of about one of these of the grid. Okay, so that way I have something easy to work with. So as always with making, I'm going to have it be a large room. So my theory about how I want it to look is going to be a large rectangular room. At the top side, you'll have the ethereal, the good, and then we'll create a rift in the middle with maybe some of the floor has been blown away in the chaos of this good versus evil map. It's just like think of it as like, this is that final boss map where you're maybe facing the boss in this kind of dungeon where the two forces are pitted against each other. That's generally the idea what I had. So at the top here, again, ethereal, the middle, broken away, fallen apart, and then at the bottom we'll have kind of the hell or evil, shall we say. Okay, yeah, good idea. Always a good idea to turn off, by the way, Joyanne, sorry. Great suggestion, by the way. Yeah, always kind of turn off stuff that you're not working. Sorry for the mispronounced there. My apologies. So I'm going to make a corner first, and I'm just using, again, the grid as a guide. Corners are easy, just 2 pieces, 3 pieces. You kind of piece together the corner piece, put it together like this. And I'm going to, what I would like to do is make a difference between the walls, not just in the imagery, like how I'm going to be using different kinds of walls, but I'm also going to create the illusion of chaos, disorder, things falling apart, broken. And a great way to do that is to maybe go ahead and take that piece and kind of make it look like they're not perfectly lined up together. So if I rotate a little bit like this, just a little bit, I can kind of create this illusion of the walls are breaking apart, kind of falling apart like that. So it's super easy, right? I don't unscroll the movie for an ungodly amount of passing time. I really want 4 or 5 times until I get grumpy and do a search. Yeah, that's how it works. That's what you do. You just scroll endlessly until you pull all your hair out. Right? So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do this first. Just break some kind of broken pieces here to kind of give it this feeling of kind of disorderliness, chaos, things are falling apart. I kind of like that look. We'll do another one right here. And then of course, we also want to, it's always nice to sometimes remove some of the wall pieces. So I can go in and just use one of these end pieces and put it on right here like this. And then I can continue on the frame several more tiles or squares away from it. And I can do that by just copying and pasting like this, flip and rotate it over like this, and then I can put it on like this. And so it looks like maybe some of the wall fell apart or it's broken. We can throw in some stuff. So that's kind of the beauty of putting all that together. Let's copy and paste, and we're just going to keep putting things together till we get to that next corner. Not complex, super easy to do. Copy and paste it, put another one over here. And I'm trying to keep them lined up. I want to keep some space from the edge. You'll notice that I'm keeping this edge right here. Eventually I'm going to paint that just pitch black. And the reason why I'm doing that is because a black frame around it will help to create contrast, and all the light colors, all the light textures and everything that are in the actual map will pop out because the black frame causes it to pop out. You'll notice in a lot of photographs that you see that there's like a black matte kind of frame. Again, that's to help to cause it to pop out. So that's why I'm going to be doing that. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment after I finish the walls, okay? Because we are going to fill in our map part with the add mode of the mask tool, but not quite yet, but we will. Just say it, okay? All right, let's go ahead and make sure that I get these nice and straightened out. This corner is not so bendy, not so much, maybe just a little bit, a hair, one there. Oops, I'm noticing that these need to be lined up a little bit better. Copy, paste, rotate this one a little bit. There we go. So we kind of have this disorderly kind of look. And again, I want to create a rift. So what I'll do is I'll use the path tool to kind of create where my rift is going to be. And I want to zoom out because I don't want one side to have a bigger area than the other. I want them to have relatively equal area for your players to walk on, but at the same time, I don't want it to look symmetrical, like there's just a straight line going across. I want it to look ruined. I want some ruination, all right? So I could go in like this and just say that this is where the rift starts for this side and then the rift for this side. So now I have a kind of a guide to work with. And the reason why I like to use the path tool is I can move it. So if it's like, well, there's too much for that side, not enough for this side, I can move it to where I want it, right? So it's really helpful to kind of use the path tool as a kind of a guide, and you can just delete it later. So it works really, really well, okay? All right, let's zoom in now. Let's continue the walls for evil, and we'll do more decorating later. When it comes to making walls or a frame, you could say this is also kind of a frame, but these are walls, is that you start with the base wall stamp that you want to work with, and then once that's done, you can decorate it as much as you want. You can keep the base stamps, you could keep the walls like this as is, and don't worry about it, drop it, and not add more details, and you still would look fine because you put it together. But you know, it's up to you how far you want to go with it, right? So I'll copy and paste. I'll continue doing this. I'm also going to do some broken away sections. Like sometimes I like to just do the broken away part last, put all the walls together, and then just delete a bunch where I don't want them, okay? Let's do that. And I'm also going to make it to where I don't want the left and the right side of the walls to be completely parallel to each other. I want to offset them a little bit. And that way it will give it a more, I think, a more interesting look, right? So I'll offset this a little bit like this, so that way some of that side of the wall of the frame, these two aren't side by side. So I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. If you look carefully, if I go across, I don't want the two walls to be perfectly side by side, right? I don't want that. Instead, I've moved it down. Okay, so let's keep going. I'll throw in, let's throw in one of these. Copy, paste, throw it in like this. Let me take a zoom out. I don't want them facing the same way. So you'll notice that the one on the left and the right are both facing or tilted to the left. I don't want to do that. I want to tilt it to the right instead. There we go, much better. Kind of gives it that feeling like it's broken out a little bit, right? And let's push this up a little bit higher. I want a little bit more distance. I'm going to copy paste. Let me take a look here. Let's maybe put on a piece that doesn't have spikes on it. And let's rotate it a little bit more. Right there like that. Perfect. All right, cool. And matter of fact, maybe we can even have the broken sections kind of not have the spikes on them, just to kind of give it a different, I think, a different feel to it. That might look nice. It's always nice to spice things up. This particular wall pack has some variation to it, so it's fun to play with that variation. There we go. And then I'll delete this one as well. And this way, there's just a bit more variation. Copy paste is your ally, 100%, let me tell you. Okay, there we go. Nice. I'm also going to take a step back. It's always nice to take a step back before you move on to the next thing to make sure things look okay, right? So that looks fine. That looks okay. Let's go with that. Cool with this? Yep. Looks fine. Okay, so once we've done that, I'm just going to save it. And I'll go ahead and move on to the next wall set that I'm going to be using for the ethereal or good side, whichever way you want to go about it, right? Lots of different options, you know, and I'm going to, for now, turn off those two packs, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on Temple, because I'm going to go with, I'm sure the Temple has got some ethereal, some lighter colors, if not, maybe some gold and whatnot to kind of work with. So I'll take a look at what our options are. Let's see here. Ooh, lots of cool options here. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I like the gold. And you know what? The gold also has yeah, absolutely, King Clown. The gold also has some ruined sections, and that ruined section might work good. As the closer we go, the farther we go down with our walls, the more we might notice that it's going to get ruined, right? As the closer you get to maybe the bad side, right? So I'll go ahead and put this down first. Again, always start with the corner pieces. So in fact, I'll go with this corner piece right. Oops, my mistake. There we go. This corner piece right here. I'm going to make sure that I'm paying very close attention to where you notice that this is not a symmetrical piece. There's a gold trimming on the outside. So make sure that you line them up so that gold trimming remains on the outside of the wall, okay? Let's throw in a smaller one like this, and then I can throw in a broken one now because we've gotten close to the rift, right? So I'll take a look at my options here. I kind of like this one right here. It looks like it's kind of broken a little bit. Oh, it's got an interesting artifact on it though that's not the same, but this one right here looks broken, so this might be a good choice. So there's a broken piece right there. Perfect. And we can always add a lot more as we go too, okay? So we'll just start with the base. I'm not going to do a lot of broken on this side. This is kind of the ethereal side, right? So I would not expect a lot. I wouldn't expect a ton of broken pieces like the more the hell side, right? Or the evil side, shall we say? Because it's just, you know, I would expect a little bit more order, a little bit more symmetry. And this is just, you know, again, my preference on how I want to go about it. You, on the other hand, can use any mythology that you want. Okay, I think this one right here looks good. Wait, no. Let me zoom back in here. There we go. Sometimes wall pieces might not go well together. It happens sometimes. And you know what? I think it's okay at the same time. Adding in something that doesn't always fit in, because there's always a little bit of chaos and order, right? So we'll throw in a piece here that just doesn't seem to go well. You can notice that there's two gold trimmings in the center piece here. There's only one here. If you really, really are that angsty about it, you can always go to transform and change the width. Oh, I'm sorry, the height, my mistake, to where that piece kind of fits in there like that. So you can kind of fit it in. And so you're getting that. But you will notice that too, this piece is not the same width. That's okay. But if you're kind of looking for a little bit more symmetry, you can do that, right? All right, let's keep going. Let's put in a couple more. Push this down as far as I can kind of get it. Another one down here. And then we can add in that broken piece at the bottom over the rift. My OCD! I know. We can always also decorate. So the one kind of trick that I can tell you about the OCD thing is you can put something on there to hide it. Some clouds, filters, whatever it is we're going to put in the good side, right? So cheat. I encourage the cheating, okay? It's always nice to use the hiding thing, because if you just put a cloud over it, you'll be like, can't see it anyway. You know, out of sight, out of mind. Right? Okay. Fairies and demons. I'm totally going for the fairy side. I love them, the fairies. I want the fairies to win. F them demons. They don't need nothing. They're the bad guys. Okay, well, some demons are cool, all right? Some demons are cool, but I'm totally putting my vote down on the fairies, okay? 100%. Okay, so, Goblin Camp. That sounds like a lot of fun. I like camps in general, so goblins are awesome. I am also going to rotate these a little bit to kind of make them look like they are broken off. Again, kind of the closer you get to the chaos side, things begin to kind of break down a little bit, right? So things will break down. All right, so the next step now is my demons are always the good guys, so they're snubby. I'm just joking. I like it. So now I'm going to fill in the whole thing with the add mode of the mask tool. Like this. Just fill in the whole thing. I'm going to press enter, so it's going to be the add mode. And then right away, I'm going to turn off all of the mask effects. If you have a kind of a lower end machine, or you have a lot of stamps, what happens with mask effects is they kind of can cause some lag. So just immediately turn them off by clicking this. You don't really need them in this particular instance, okay? Next, I'm going to go ahead and create the rift. So I'll go back up, use the grid, or use the mask tool. I'm going to go with the edgy brush. I'm going to turn off the smoothness. I don't think smoothness will be necessary. There are a couple ways we could go about this. We can have the rift be look like there's a bunch of tiles that people have to jump across to get to the other side. Maybe there's a spell that you have to use. Lots of different options that you can kind of choose from to do the rift, right? The easiest one and the quickest one is probably just going to be using the edgy brush. And I'm going to go up to about 7. It's going to go subtract. And let's go like this. I'm just going to follow this. Oh, you know what? I think those can be a lot bigger. So I'm going to undo, Control Z, go up, make my edges a little bit bigger. There we go, a little bit more pronounced. There we go. And then we'll go across. Let's do this one too. Oopsie, I think that was some lag, my mistake there. Ay, ay, ay. What is happening here? All right, give it a second to load. Here we go. I'm running in 3K and recording and streaming, so expect some fun stuff there. Let's boost the size so I'm not doing the same size the whole time. And now that it's set, now that the rift is there, I can choose the texture that I want for each side. And I can remove the path tool now, the paths, because the rift is already there. I did notice that there's a little bit more space on the ethereal side, so things can change. We can go ahead and maybe remove one and kind of put it up and kind of give the ethereal side a little bit more. I don't want to be cheaty and give them all the space, okay? Don't want to give them all this space. What happened? Let's take a look. One more. Oh no, really? Nope, that actually looks fine. That's fine. But I am going to rotate, do a little bit more rotating there. There we go. Nice. Is it killing your OCD now? The walls are not straightened and aligned. I am a mean person. Just kidding. No, I'm OCD too. Totally. 100%. I totally understand. I promise. I really, really do. It's like, no, it must be perfect. It got a Goldilocks this, you know? Like, this one's just right. All right, I'm going to create my own little pillar as well. And I'm going to increase the height, I think. There we go. And I'll group that. There we go. And I can create kind of like a little pillar or something here, like this. There we go. That looks fine. And I'm going to do the same, I think, over to here somewhere. So I'll probably delete those. Oopsie, that's not what I want. I wanted that one. Oh, I hope we didn't scare you away. Okay, almost there. Let's put in a couple more. I just wanted to put in, it's always nice to play with the walls, like the hell side or the evil side, or whatever side is probably the most fun to make because it's evil. Okay? Good is so overrated. So overrated. You know, the anti-hero is in. You guys know it, right? The anti-hero is in. There we go. Because good is dumb. All right, here we go. Right, all right, so that looks cool. I'm digging that. I think this looks good. Of course, this will require more work. You know, symmetry is not as popping and fun, you know. But hey, what can you do, right? Let's go ahead and pick some textures that we want. So I kind of pulled textures from the Gothic horror. So I'll go with Gothic horror and temple. Okay, and I'll do the Gothic horror first. And so here we have a lot of options here, and we can do some fun things. It's nice to incorporate some of the same texture on both sides for a level of continuity. For instance, on the good side, we could use this broken light marble at the top side and then use this broken marble dark on the bottom side, right? So let's go with this one first. And what I'll do is I'll do some editing because right away it might not be right. So if I change the size, I kind of really want to see those artifacts. I think that would look kind of cool. That looks pretty dang good right there. Let's just do that. Oh, no. Go up a little bit more. My mistake. This is the part where I'm trying to increase the size to make it to where it will be right. So let me check here. 190, 150. Let's stick with that one so I can kind of remember that. Then I'll go with FG. And I'm going to paint. I turn my softness off. And I'm going to paint that on right here like this. Now I've got the grid on, so it's going to be a little, I'm so confused. So we'll turn that off, okay? We'll turn that grid off. Okay. Let me go back to my textures. 191.5, that's fine. Let's go to this one. And I'll go ahead and type in that size again, 191.5. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. No, let's go with 180. There we go. Okay, and let's paint that one on. There we go. Okay. All right, this is looking good so far. All right, let's go ahead and save that at 81 changes. Always nice to save it. Okay. So far, so good. I'm happy with it. You missed a spot in the bottom right. Did I? I probably did. I'll let you know. I missed a spot. You mean a texturing? Probably. Oh, I don't see it. Which spot did I miss? Oh, I'm so confused. Oh, wait, right there. Ah! Good eyes. Dang. I'm so glad I got eagle eyes on my team, okay? Heck yeah. It's a group effort. I fumbled. I made a mistake. Okay. So now that I've kind of done that, thank you, by the way, for catching that. I appreciate it. Feel free to point out any mistakes that I make. And believe me, they will be numerous. So point them out and get a good chuckle at my expense, please. I totally recommend it. So now I'm going to change that background to black. Press enter, make sure to BG. And now, by changing it to black, now everything kind of pops out a lot more, right? So that's perfect, right? So the next step now is I'm going to go ahead and take all of the walls. I'm going to select them all, unless there's some groups. Do I have some groups? Oh, I do. Let's undo that group real quick. Ungroup that one, ungroup that one. I kind of want them all to be selectable. Perfect. I'm going to go to shadows. I'm going to go to layer options. And you can control the layer options. Layer options are basically global shadows. And what the difference between the object shadow and the layer shadow is that object shadows, if you have an object on top of an object, the object shadow will show up on the bottom object. But with layers, that's not the case. With layer shadows, the shadows will only show up on the F, G, and the BG layers. I know there's a little bit of delay between the F the F and the G part, right? But hey, the F, G, and the BG layers are the only ones where that shadow is going to, and that's useful for walls and to kind of create this kind of ambient occlusion with your walls. So I'll go ahead and you'll notice there's a little bit of shadow right there with the walls. That's perfect. I'm going to use that. I'll end up painting more, but don't worry, we'll do that more. But if I turn off the layer shadow, you'll notice that, boom, there isn't this shadow that kind of makes your walls pop out. So I change those layer shadows. I go back to layer, and you'll notice there's a little bit of dark around the edge there, right? So that works out rather well. Okay, so perfect, right? The layer shadows are useful. I mean, it's really case scenario, really is the way it's going to go, right? So we'll paint in more, all right? Let's go ahead now and decorate some more of the walls, right? That's kind of fun. So what I'm thinking of doing is incorporating maybe some skulls and stuff like that to kind of give it a scary look. So if I just open up everything, I'm going to type in skulls. Now these are specifically temple, but I do like the decorativeness of these these skulls, right? I mean, if the skulls are all the same, I could probably just use maybe a crypt wall or something. So instead, I want to put down individual ones, and I think that'll be helpful. Absolutely, ambient occlusion is muy primo, absolutely perfect. Useful for kind of making your walls pop out. Ambient occlusion is basically going to be that contrast, because without some kind of darker line around your walls, it won't look like there's depth. It just looks like it's flat and a part of the ground. All right, so it's always important to do ambient occlusion, and we'll paint in more ambient occlusion. This object layer, or this layer shadow, is just a start. It's just a start. We'll paint in more a little bit later, okay? I'll start with big ones first. And then just like the walls, I'm going to rotate them up. I'm going to put them where the design is. See these nice designs right here? So I think I'll put one either on top of the designs or in the center. I think since there's already a nice design here, let's not hide it. So let's put them right here. So I'll start with individual larger ones first, like this. Just put a couple in. Let me take a look here. I don't want to put the same one close to each other. So I want to change it up for each one, and I'm going to rotate and size them up. Oh yes, paths work wonderful for ambient occlusion. Absolutely, Joyanne. 100% agree with that. 100%, absolutely. Okay, and we'll throw in another one over here. I'm going to rotate it, and we'll throw in another odd one right here, and then I can throw in the rest with just little skulls. I think just the little ones will increase the size. And I'm going to alternate the rotation so they're not all facing the same way. Let's throw in another one right there, another one right here, and we'll throw in one right there, I think. There we go. All right, let's take a step back. And I added skulls because they're white, and that will they'll pop out against that red, right? There's that contrast, allowing the skulls to pop out against that darker red, right? So you have a nice decoration. All kinds of things that you can do with these skulls. We could put lights glowing in their eyes. We could have blood on the walls. We could add some spikes. There's all these different things. When I think of chaos and evil, I think of unhospitable to life, right? It's antithetical to life. So very inhospitable, very hostile environment. That's what we're going to be going for, okay? All right, so let's go with maybe adding some decorations, adding maybe some evil eyes. There are a couple ways that you could go about doing that. Paths or the light stamps, orbs, lots of different options. I'll put down one path for right now, and I'm going to leave it there and make it live so I can see it. Now we can think about, when I'm adding light sources, I like to right away think about first a color palette. Right now we've got red. So we're going to think about colors that maybe go well with red. There's green. Ho, 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 red and green Christmas. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, throwing in, looking for complementary colors is always a good idea. Green complements red. So we're going to maybe consider making the eyes red, or we can make them yellow, goldish color. So that way we have at least some continuity with the gold at the top, right? And we might change all that too as we go when filters get applied. So once filters come into play, the whole thing might be changed. We might HSBC this thing and boom, it's going to change. So lots of different options, right? So I've got this path and I'm going to go, I think, with the gold because that kind of makes the most sense. So I'll continue editing this, throw in a yellow color. And of course, it's nice to throw in a yellow shadow so it looks like it's glowing. I'm going to go ahead now and delete that. So when I go back to the path tool, it'll save the dimensions of the last path I selected. I'm going to go zoom in real close, right? And now this is not hard to do. I'm going to use a mouse instead of a tablet because most people are not using a pen. So I'm going to use the mouse. And I'm just going to go in and kind of fill in like that, right? Let's put it up a layer. Let's also make sure it's at full opacity. Let's also make sure that the yellow can be seen. So I'll boost up a little bit there. And now that I've made it, I can just copy and paste it. Copy and paste these right into the eye sockets of the skulls. That's it. It's really as simple as that. And I can copy and paste the two and just rotate and line them up. So we get this eerie kind of glow. And we can throw in as well some light sources as well. So I'll go ahead and line these up. Let's go ahead and put this a little bit further in. Might have to do some slight separation for the larger ones. Let's go ahead and zoom out, go back in. There we go. And this way you kind of have that eerie, glowy kind of feel that I kind of like, right? I want the walls to have some character. It's nice to have character. Makes your map pop out. And remember, it's a boss battle map, right? When you're doing the forces of evil versus the forces of good, then you're kind of, you're kind of going to expect the map to be kind of epic a little bit, right? So that's why we're doing this. All right. And again, for you at home who are maybe following along, making a map, you don't have to add on all these details. Okay. It's how far, how much time, how much effort you're willing to put into it, right? For me, boss battle maps do require a little bit of work, I would think. But if you're making a map that's just pure evil and you want to know how to make it, then hey, follow along on just this kind of evil part that we're putting together. If you're making an ethereal map, hey, focus more on the ethereal section of the stream, right? So glean what you can. Let's take a step back. I think we're almost there. Just some copying and pasting. There we go. Nice. And I'll take a step back as well to take a to kind of just take a look. For now, it's kind of hard to see the yellow from a distance, but that's okay. When you zoom in, you'll be able to see it because most of the time when you're playing on a VTT, most likely you're going to be zoomed in a little bit, right? You're going to be zoomed in because you don't want to see the whole map, right? You don't want to see the whole map in the VTT. There's also going to be the fog of war. So it's going to be really nice when you're zoomed in and you have some nice details on the walls for your players to kind of oogly googly look at, right? Oh yes, red could be more evil. We already have red, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and just take a look and see if we do that. Now, the beauty of paths is that you can edit them, right? So at any time we can go in and change them to the reddish color, right? So when I go in, oopsie, I didn't select all the paths, I noticed. I missed one. So with the paths, you can change it to any color you freaking want, right? You want to make them blue, you want to make them green, I personally like green. I think green's a good one. Look, green goes well with red, I think. So yeah, we can go with green, we can go with yellow, you can go with red, whichever your preferences is, right? It's a matter of personal pref. Yeah, I like the red too. It's a tough one, right? Deciding which one to kind of go with can be kind of tough. I'm going to go with green though, because I think green goes very well with the overall, with red. It's a It's a complementary color, and we'll also make the blur red. And we can change it as we go, but I hope people are okay with green. I just think it goes well with red. And it also tells us that we might be adding in more green lights as we go, right? All right, so let's take a look at changes. 61, we're all right. There is some other things I want to do to these walls real quick, and then we'll move on to the next wall. And I want to kind of create like this feeling of twisted metal, bars, iron. So what I'll do is check out walls real quick, and I'm a whack. If you're looking for whack, this is the place. We're looking for the whack. Yeah. There should be some kind of like bar-like stamp. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It might take a moment to find it. We have the stamp of approval from Joyanne. Yes, thank you. Love it. Love me, love me. All right. Speaking from experience, using a lot of red, I have to admit that there are a few colors that will contrast well with it. Yeah, agreed, right? So I'll go ahead and I'm going to look for some maybe, I know for a fact there are these metal, oh, here we go, perfect, right here. So these ones right here will probably work just fine. I like these. These are stairs or railing, but I think they might work for bars. Let me check if they have a broken or rusted one. Let me check broken tag. Because if they have kind of a more rustic broken one, I think that might work better, but it might not be here. Or we can line the walls with bones if you feel that's better. I don't really know. So lots of options. I'll go with the metal for now. And if it just doesn't look right, we can skip over to maybe bones with the crypt. All right. You know, I think I'm just going to have to end up going with that metal for now. And if you folks feel that that's not good, just, you know, hit me upside the head. Be like, nope, that's ugly. Change it now. I will obey. We listen to our users here emphatically. All right, 1 second here. I'm going to go find those bars again. I love that. Now, see, this is that part where you like scroll through everything. Are you in here? Where are you? Will I find you? It was railing, right? Let's type in railing. Come on now. Yes, do you want to just scroll through here for the next hour or two? Yes, you do. Of course you do. Uh-oh, I don't see it in there. Well, what is happening here? Let me type in rail. There we go. Maybe it's in here somewhere. Oh, well, what the fudge muffins is happening here? Lord Satan, what is going on? Okay. Metal is the regular battle map. Yeah. Yeah, let's just go with this. We'll go with this for now. There are things that we can do to change these. We can make them darker. And then also we can put filters on the end. Filters on the end to kind of maybe give it a little bit more cracked and weird feel to it. So what I'll do is go ahead and put the metal on the inside. And I'm going to make sure it's on the top. I'm going to bring down the brightness. It's a little too bright. I mean, what's the point of having that ambient occlusion if you have this bright metal color? It kind of contrasts against the feeling that you're going for. So I'll put a couple of these together, and just like before, I'm going to create this kind of metal curling effect by kind of just rotating them and kind of make it look like the metal broke off from the wall. Some kind of force just ripped the metal right off. So we'll go with that. Something like that. For now, the Gothic railing, yeah, the Gothic railing could work. I'm going to stick with this one for right now, if nobody minds. Okay. And I'm going to have this one look like it's just curled and broke right off, and maybe even have it kind of bending this way so you can't, maybe this edge right here, you can't jump off of over to here. So it kind of just kind of breaks it off. And then let's also put some on the wall and just have some missing. One like this, put one right here like this. This one broke off on that one. Okay, let's go down. Let's put some in this corner here. Hello, hello. All my favorite people in one place. What is happening here? Did I die and go to heaven? No, I'm working on the hell side. Ah, No, just kidding. You hellions, you. There we go. Let's push this one up. There we go. I like that. There we go. So you kind of get the general idea, kind of this twisted bars kind of feel to it. I think I'm going to stick with that. I'll make a couple of them. I particularly want them to be most dominant near the areas where the wall's kind of broken off, where there's some sections. So it kind of looks kind of interesting. And also, I don't want my players to be like, can I fit through there and go in there? No, you don't. Block them. You have been denied, players. You will not be allowed. Hey, maybe your hell side is your heaven. Sometimes you don't have a choice, okay? Sometimes you don't have a choice. All right, there we go. Got some bars there, and I'll do that. I like doing this little kind of like half triangle kind of feel to it, like it looks like they broke off from each other. You know what these look like? This is bike chain, okay? In hell, they're lining the walls with bike chains, okay? That is what this is. Chain gang along the walls. We're putting in bike chains. So this is like a bicycle person's like nightmare. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, I'm kind of digging this kind of twisted metal feel to it. Yeah, now we're talking. Twisted metal. I dig. Okay. Pummel the broken bike chains of their enemies. That's right. We're not a motorcycle gang, we're a bicycle gang. All right? So we just run around looking for bicyclists and just thrash them. Thrash them. Give them a good thrashing. Give me all your bike chain. No. You will get a serious thrashing if you don't give me all your bike chain right now. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost done with this. We'll probably add in more stuff too. I always like to put stuff in the corners. Decorating corners is always nice. It's not necessarily a map frame per se. This is more walls, but it's nice to sometimes add some stuff in there. So I might put in like maybe a big skull or something. I know there was a bigger one. This one right here. This is the big skull. All right, we can, you could put that in the corner or something like that, just to kind of. There we go. Add in like a big skull in the corners there, just to kind of be like, yeah, just to highlight the corners. Put another one over here. We'll rotate it. There we go. Now we're talking. Yeah, I know. I like the skulls. The skulls are my favorite. All right, let's take a look where we're at. Yep, that looks pretty good. So far, so good. I'm enjoying this side. Where are we for time? Oh, wow, just an hour. Just an hour to do that. My goodness. Time be flying, right? So I'll real quick go ahead and decorate the ethereal side, the top part of the map, the good side, and then we'll quickly get to decorating the main walkable areas. All right, all kinds of fun stuff that we can do to that as well. So we'll go ahead and look at this. I'll go ahead and go back to that temple pack and see what I can use in the temple pack. Yeah, I get carried away. Of course, I want to do the evil side first. To hell with it, I say. Okay, so let's go into temple. We'll go back in here and take a look at our options. I'm kind of seeing that we could line the wall with, there are a couple things that I associate with the ethereal, some wall pillars, golden statues, stuff like that. And of course, the further we get, or the closer we get to the hell or evil side, we can maybe get some broken statues and stuff like that. So first, let's stick with that gold theme. I'm going to maybe pick a gold statue. First, I might want to consider adding pillars, of course, because if you put pillars down, that creates dividers on the walls, and then in between pillars you can decorate with things. So it's always nice to put down pillars first, and we can go with basic simple pillars, like a simple wall piece like this one. We can use that. Let me see, that actually doesn't, it's not the same wall piece. Let me go back up. Is there a, there it is right there. I think this piece right here will work just fine. We're going to use it as a pillar. And I'm going to turn the grid back on, because when you're doing pillars and we're doing the symmetrical, the good side, hey, first time chatter, family fantasy RPG, welcome. very glad to have you here. We're making the ethereal side, the good side, not the evil side. But we'll go back to that, don't worry. So I'm turning on that grid because on this side, the good side, I'm making some more symmetry, right? So the grid is going to help me to make sure that I have that symmetry. So first, I'd like to put a pillar in the dead center. And that is really helpful because now I have equidistance between the center piece and the two walls, right? So now I have this to kind of help me out, right? So I'll put this down right here. I think this is central. Let me go ahead and do a little bit of math to make sure that I have that right. 12. So I got 12 on this side. Let me make sure that there's 12 on the other side as well, just to make sure, right? I actually missed one, so it needs to go over just a little bit right there. That's about center right there in between those two. So now that I have that center, I can go in, copy, paste, put one up against this corner right here. Copy, paste, put another one in this corner. And then I can go in and I can place these in the center, in between, and then you'll have these nice spaces to work with in between. So you can put statues, windows, light sources, flames, stairs, whatever you want. There's a lot of different options that you can choose from, right? Let's also look at the distance between them. So it looks like there's about 5 to 6 in between. So it's not a bad idea to maybe go 5 or 6 again in between here. And of course you have that grid set up so you can copy, paste, and just put it directly across like that, okay? So now I can go in. If it's not lined up right, just line it up. We're going to copy and save. Declare that symmetries is evil and shall forever be forsaken. Yes, symmetry is hard, but hey, the grid, and there are some little tricks that you can do, like the counting the numbers in between, finding dead center, and then you can kind of place, once you start finding centers, your mind will start working that way. So it's really helpful to do that. Okay, so we've created some symmetry, a little bit of symmetry. Obviously, there's not one across here. This one fell down, right? So that's gone, right? But now that you have that symmetry, you can now throw in some statues. And if things are not symmetrical, believe me, you'll find out. Watch what happens if I put a statue in between this one and another statue in between this one. You can see right away if the symmetry is off or not, right? It's the distance between. So you can make adjustments as you go, right? So I might want to push this one a little bit more this way to give it a little bit more room, right? So symmetry is not as complex as it needs to be. You just need to turn the grid on. Math is helpful, but it's not crazy math. It's just basic arithmetic, just addition and subtraction. That's it. So just make sure that when you turn that grid on and you put a piece down, that you want those columns to be the same. Just start in the center, count the grid in between them, and then place them down. Now you can also put ruler lines by using the path tool with the segment section. That also works well. It's up to you how you want to go about it, but I can tell you right now that your grid is going to be the savior for you, okay? You always want to use the grid. It's absolutely helpful and imperative, especially if you're wanting to use the symmetry for your pillars and your temple, for your whatever, okay? So always important. Bring this one down a little bit, I think. Path tool ruler, smart idea. Absolutely. It's always good to use a ruler of some kind. If you're kind of curious what I'm talking about, this is it right here. Just use the path tool, use a straight line, boost it all the way up, change it to the color that you want to make it, white, right? We'll turn that shadow off. And now you have a kind of this nice little line right here that you can work with. Okay, so path tool is absolutely important. If you put less columns to find your center, there is less math involved. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. That's why I'm putting in the more pillars instead of less, but I also want to let you know that the more pillars you have, the less room you have to decorate. So just kind of keep that in mind. Oh, by the way, super glad that you made it here. Mini stories, no time. Awesome. So glad that you're here. So yeah, always remember that you don't want to have the pillars so close together that you find yourself having no room to decorate walls. For me, this one works about perfect here. You'll see that there's lots of room in between each one. Now there's a lot of gold going on here, and you know what complements gold or yellow? Blue, right? It's a complementary color. So let's perhaps think about throwing in some silver and some gold and some blue, right? So these nice, beautiful statues, these have some wings on it. This marble statue has some wings on it. So I think this is really good, and it matches with the ground as well, at least in my opinion. So if I place this down, you got this nice statue right here. Perfect, right? We'll make two of them. Copy, paste, put another one right here. Okay, so we have these two statues. Now I'm also going to change the object shadow because what I want is to create depth. You'll notice that I already have some depth by overlapping the head of the statue and the wings over that wall. But it's not enough, right? How do I create a little bit more depth? Go with your object shadows. We're going to go with 0, 0. I'm going to boost them up, use black. Okay, and then I'm going to push the shadow up. Now you'll notice that the shadow behind it begins to pop out a little bit, making it look like it's hovering, or kind of looks like the wall, the shadow is on top of that wall, right? So use those shadows. Absolutely useful. I usually activate grid to make sure that things have the right size. One tile is 5 feet. Absolutely. I agree with that. Totally. I mean, really, I wouldn't use these tiles right here for 5 by 5. I would go up, which I intend to do. I just changed them down for the bit. So if you want, we can go back. I'm going to do half of this, so 15. And you'll kind of notice that my grids have gotten a little bit bigger. So this is 5 by 5 feet right here. These pillars are pretty big, 3 feet by 3 feet. So for me personally, this is where I'll probably go with. You can see right away right here that it's about the same. So we got 5 by 5 grid set up already. Perfect. So that's helpful. All right, for that type of playing a grid. Yep, of course. All right, so now we have, I can turn that grid off. Well, actually, I'm continuing. No, I think I can turn the grid off for now. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep adding some more pieces here. I'm trying to look at the statue and see what this person is doing. You know what would be really cool is it almost looks like their hands at a fist at their waist, and we can make it look like maybe they're holding a staff or something. That'd be kind of cool, right? Maybe they're holding a staff with like a blue light on it or something. Let's use this thing right here. This is not technically a staff, but it works kind of good. Watch when I place it right here. It's going to look like there's a little bit of a shadow. Now I want this to go as far as I can. All right, and I also want to put this one down like this. So it looks like I have a bit of a staff right here. Let's put this one at the end of the staff. This will work as a nice bottom part of the staff. Okay, so there's a staff. Now let's go ahead and let's change the width so it looks like it's getting a little bit wider. So I'll change this transform, make this a little bit wider so it looks like it's kind of, looks like it's getting a little bit bigger as it goes to the top. Now I want to go with blue, so let's go with wizard. I think the wizard pack is probably going to have what we're looking for. Wizards always have cool looking globes and fun little stuff, so this will work perfect. You know what? This one right here, let's do this one right here, I think. All right, I'm going to change the filter as well. So we'll change it to kind of this bluish color. Let's boost the saturation. And I'm going to look for that lightish kind of blue color. Let's boost the brightness up. There we go. And then I can go ahead and just boost the size up and then put it right on top, just like that. There we go. And I'm going to turn the shadow to maybe a blue color. Let's try that, or let's turn it off. No, I'm wrong. Let's go with just 0, 0. I want some shadow to make it look like it's hovering. So we'll go ahead and add that. Greetings, welcome. Awesome. There we go. Let's go ahead and line this up so it's on there. There we go. Awesome. I love that. And the beauty of this is that I can also copy all the pieces or group all the pieces and make it into a group. And I can go ahead and just copy and paste the statue over to the next one. Now I've noticed that these are facing the same way, so I'm going to have to flip them. There we go. I flipped it, and then that way I can put in the staff on this side so they're kind of maybe crossing together. And I can even delete this pillar in the center and maybe put something fun right there, right? So let's go ahead and look at what other options we have. Maybe we want to decorate it just a little bit more. So we can kind of look at our options here. Maybe we want to put, let's take a look here. It's always fun to look at the options. Oh, actually, I kind of like this one too. This is kind of cool too. Like you could use this as like maybe like a spear piece, kind of like that. You know what? I think I like that even better. So I think I'll get rid of this one and put this one on instead. Let me boost the saturation. There we go. And then put that on maybe right that, maybe, I'm not sure. The other one might have been better. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. Always hard to say, right? Go 0, 0. There we go. I don't know what I liked better. Is that one better? It looks like a hockey. It looks like it's a hockey stick. We can make it a hockey stick. Yes. Now we're playing light hockey. What do you guys think? This one better, or do you like the kind of the bluish orb that we did? Let me know. Maybe one of each. I don't know. You let me know. All right. Let's just first, at the very least, take these pieces like this, and let's rotate it back. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Put that on right there. Ooh, ooh. Make sure I got it lined up right, right? There we go. And we'll put that one right there. There we go. So each person's kind of got their own special little stappy poo there for you. Yes. Yes. Yeah, we'll put a hockey disc in the center. This is good versus evil hockey. I think one of each is interesting. I agree with you. That'll work out great. Okay. Let's take a step back. Just see how it looks. You know, I think this is not ugly. So this will do. This is not ugly. Yay, not ugly. Woo! Yay. Not ugly, man. Put a net there. Yeah. That'd be great. We need to put some creature who protects the goalie, right? Okay, let's keep adding in some more statue stuff, I think. Put your bets now here. Okay, let's go in and let's save it actually and refresh the page. Because I'm getting some lag here, so we'll go ahead and refresh. Evil. Did I mention evil? Good versus good. Who would win? I'm going to say good. I'm teasing you. Okay, yeah, we're going to go ahead and save, refresh the page, and we're going to go ahead and continue decorating a little bit more of the walls. And we've already kind of created a central piece. Each side, the good and evil side, needs to basically have some kind of central piece. I think this right here works good as a central piece, right? So we'll do that. Let's refresh the page first. Blind you with the bright, ow, my eyes. I shall blind you. Hope you're wearing sunglasses. I wear my sunglasses. It's hot. Yeah. All depends who gets the cheap shots in first. Well, since it's good, there won't be any cheap shots, so it's going to be a draw, right? Only the evil should do that, right? Okay, so we saved, we refreshed. Let's keep adding in some more statues, okay? Because I want more statues. More. Give me more statues, okay? Give me more statues. There we go. So we'll throw one there. And you can throw in a different one if you want, or the same one. Actually, I kind of like that one. Kind of looks kind of, you know, arc, like a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of feel to it. I like it, an arc. So we'll place one there, copy, paste, put another one in this corner. There we go. That looks nice. Good versus evil hockey game. Yeah, we'll throw that in there. All right. Let's throw in a different statue maybe. And there's a lot of different things. We could throw in, we could also give glowing lights for the eyes, which I think I'm going to do, by the way. It never hurts to throw in more glowy goodness, right? I love the glowy goodness. Glowy goodness, awesome sausage. I'm going to tell you right now. Okay, so I'm going to cheat too a little bit, and I'm going to add some light sources from a different style. And I think it's okay to do that because it's just a light stamp, right? It's not it's not different art rendering where you have, you know, watercolor battle maps, very thick, dark lines, while a fantasy regional or fantasy battle maps has a totally different kind of feel to it, right? So I'll go in and I'm gonna just put the light sources to normal instead of lighten. Okay, and I'm gonna make these smaller and make them just kind of fit right in. So you have this nice kind of like nice bluish kind of eyes. Because I honestly, I just love putting lights on statues. Just makes it so much more eerie, so much more creepy, so much more interesting, right? Give some oomph to your statues, right? Okay, so we've done that part. And we've kind of decorated this, so I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and put on some ambient occlusion, okay? So I'm gonna go, ooh, actually, let's rephrase here. Not rephrase, let's step back and see what I've done. I've already added kind of a central piece for this side, so I need to put in one on this side. And you know what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna have it be symmetrical. So I'll put some weird landmass on the left or the right side and give it some more chaos to it. So what I'll do is I wanna put some land formation. And so what it's nice to use is a hill. So I'll turn off search all styles because I'm no longer looking within all the styles. And I'm going to use a composite hill. All right, so there's some nice composite hills right here. Okay, and I know the color is off a little bit. Don't worry, we're gonna fix that. Okay, so I'm gonna boost the size up, kind of find a piece that's gonna kind of fit in here. I think this looks kind of right, like that. Now once I've placed it on there, I can go to my blend modes and go to luminosity, and it will pick up that color underneath. Now it's a bit bright, don't worry about that. Go to advanced settings, change the brightness. Okay. Now at first, this will be hard to see, but we're gonna change the texture that's gonna be on top of this, right? So it's nice to change the texture. Now, I wanna talk a little bit about depth. Now, whenever you're trying to show various levels that your players are walking on, like you want to show that this hill right here is higher up from the ground below it, use contrast. So let's just say that obviously this part, this rift, is the most deepest part of the map. Pure black, obvious, deepest part, right? But for this one right here, this next level, which is this part right here, you'll notice that this whole section, this whole part right here, the whole thing is at this darker color. That's fine, right? So let's go ahead and choose a texture and put it on top of this hill and make it a little bit brighter so that it looks like it's higher up, okay? So I'll go back into textures, and instead of using the texture that has, you'll notice that that temple texture kind of has a lot of artifacts in it, and so it's kind of hard to tell like what part you're walking on and stuff like that. So using a different texture would be helpful. So I'll go back to temple, and there should be that reddish kind of broken temple tile set. This will work just fine. I'm obviously going to change the size as well. Now, there are some things I want to talk about when using a tile texture on a battle map is that if you use a tile texture, there are a couple options. One, either you can make each tile 5 square feet, or you cannot make it that way. So when you're thinking about your grid, think very carefully about alignment of grid on a tile map, okay? This is super duper important. So what I'll do is I'll turn on the grid. First, I'm gonna change it to white so I can really see it, okay? Then I'm gonna go and change the size. And what I might wanna consider doing is having maybe 4, I could do 4 to a grid if I wanted to, or zoom them up to where it equals an entire section where they're 5 feet. Up to you how you want to go about doing this. It is kind of hard. So I'll go ahead and change the offsets. So that's about correct. It's not perfect, but close, okay? So next I'll go in and I'm just going to paint right where this is right here on the map. So I'll paint that on top. Personally, I don't like being so big, but you can go with that. I just think the line work is too big, personally. but it just depends on the VTT and what you're using. But if you do want to use a tile, make sure that you scale it up to the grid that you're using, 5 by 5. If not, you don't have to. Me personally, I think they're a little too big and I don't like it. It looks kind of weird. So I'll stick with making it this size instead. And you can make your grid invisible on VTTs as well. So you don't have to have some weird continuity issue with the grid being the same size. But you will notice that the texture that I used is lighter. This grid texture is lighter. That tile texture is lighter than the texture on the main ground. Okay? You'll notice that. So if I wanted to put down yet another piece on top, then of course you're probably going to want to make that texture even lighter. So I'll put this one on top. So there's a piece there. So there's a little extra and an even higher spot that you can go up on, right? And what I'll do is use that same texture I just used, this one, and I'll boost the brightness just a bit. And I'll go ahead and paint in this. I want it to be even brighter. So whenever you're doing this, make sure that that the difference between the other texture is noticeable. So this is noticeably lighter. This one is middle, and the bottom one is even darker, okay? So that's just a contrast trick to create depth, all right? Now there's way more depth to be doing here. We need to add in the ambient occlusion and the shadows, and we will. And I might even want to consider making this stamp even brighter to make it to where it even looks like the landscape is a little bit higher up, okay? So that's the trick, contrast. The lowest point on your battle map, pitch black or dark. The highest point, brighter. You'll notice that immediately when you look at these walls. These walls are a lot brighter than this ground texture, so it immediately looks like it's higher up, right? This is the opposite, but that's okay. As long as you have the contrast, as long as the walls are darker than this light ground texture, it's fine, right? So contrast is super important for depth in so many different ways. So write that down in your little notebooks, okay? All right, so I think this looks pretty good. This looks good. What we will do is throw in some ambient occlusion. Lots of different ways to do this. You can take the same texture that you used and just make it a heck of a lot darker. And doing that will help so you don't lose any of the texture information. Because if you use black, it's diminutive. You're completely removing underneath, right? I'm sure you did. So 2 methods of doing your ambient occlusion or your shadowing. Use the same ground texture, just make it darker, or you can use black. But just remember, when you use black, you're going to be removing some of the artifacts in the texture below it. So it's just up to you how you want to go about doing it. So I made this texture extra dark. I'd like to bring when it comes to shadowing, I like to do some undulating. That means smooth, soft, several strokes to kind of get the effect that I want. Could you add some rotation on the tile to add chaos? Absolutely, and I probably will end up doing that. I like that idea. First, I'll add in the ambient occlusion so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'll absolutely do that. Brilliant call, by the way. Great call. So let's do the ambient occlusion. I usually like to go around between 30 and 40, and I'll just first apply it just to see what it looks like. Could be a bit darker in my mind. Let's go with 50. There we go. And so what I'll do is create that first pass just around that edge. The first pass. Now, the farther out your shadow is, the taller the object is, just to let you know. It's going to be higher up. So if you wanted to show depth, this is a really tall, then you would make the shadow protrude much further out to give it depth, okay? So that's one trick you should remember, is that the further the shadow goes out, the taller, or it's obviously a directional shadow that's elongated due to the time of day, okay? But we'll go in and make sure that along this edge you have this dark shadow. Now I want to go ahead and use pure black for my darkest point, and I'm going to use this for the ambient occlusion to make sure that this pops out a lot. So just put in a nice thick dark line. It can even be darker than that. Thick dark line along this edge here to make sure that it pops out. You'll notice that really thick dark line, or not thick, but dark line, helps or allows it to pop out. Remember, this dark line is not its shadow. It's its ambient occlusion. You're going to be painting in shadows or using the path tool for that. So right away, you'll notice that this, boom, it just pops out because I threw in some of the shadowing and then the ambient occlusion around the edge. And we're going to do that same thing with this one as well. But first, we're going to fix my boo-boo. We're going to fix my boo-boo, and we're going to rotate this texture to give it some chaos. And even this other darker one, we're going to rotate as well to kind of give it some oomph. Okay, so we'll go in. I'm going to go with 100%, of course, and we'll throw in this kind of chaotic tiling, because if you're not going to use the grid, if you're not going to show the grid in the VTT, then it doesn't matter which direction the tile is going and all that stuff. It's irrelevant, okay? Okay, let's throw that one in there. Let's do that next one, this lighter one, and let's also rotate this one. Make sure that it's different from the other one as well, right? So let's go and throw this one in. There we go. We got some nice, there we go. That works out great. Now I'm going to take that one I used right here, going to do what I just did with the last one, drop the brightness down. Now I do want to mention that you should probably save these because what happens with your recently used is after you do so many textures, what happens is some start getting bumped off, okay? And it's really hard to memorize the exact changes to everything you do. So make sure that you select it and go select each one immediately and favorite it. So this way you don't have to change all the settings over and over and over again. So I went ahead and saved every single texture that I changed. And you'll notice there are changes because if you look carefully, bottom left corner where it says open catalog, you'll see that it has the information on it in the bottom left corner of the thumbnail, okay? So now I went ahead and took this same texture right here, which I used for that first cliff, and I'm gonna bring that brightness way down, okay? Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just try 100% first to see what it looks like. A little too dark, so we can go and just change the opacity just a hair. I'm gonna use a mouse as well and not my pen, so that you can see that it does take just a little bit of work, just a little bit of steady hand. So there's that first one. Then I can go back in with that color, nice and dark, and make it small, and then put in this dark ambient occlusion right there. There we go. Okay. That looks good. Now, if you're wondering, like, well, wait a minute, it seems kind of light on this side in this corner right here, you can always go ahead and just take the same stamp that you use, this brown hill like this, and I'm going to just go ahead and place one right on top, and I'll just show you a trick that I use to kind of create the shadow side, and that is obviously change the luminosity so it's the right color, and then of course bring the brightness way, way down. Okay, now bringing the brightness down allows me to make it look like one side is dark and the other side is light. So I can throw that down, copy, paste, put another one down, put it right there, and you'll notice now that you have some nice dark side. So you're just manually changing the dark side. You can paint with the path tool. I just like to use these stamps because they just work a little bit easier. So the options are there, right? I'll go ahead and place another one just so there's continuity. Another one right there. Place another one right here. Bring the scale down a little bit. Put it right there. Make sure that I line it up right, and I'll put one more down that should be about this size. There we go. So now you kind of have this darker corner right here, right? And we're going to be using all kinds of fun things to make it match together a little bit. All right, so now we have that. That looks nice, okay? We're at 66 changes. I'll save. We need to create access to get to these points, and we also need to figure out what's going to be on that top platform. Maybe an evil portal, or some Cthulhu-like creature, a statue, blood, sacrificial altar, ghost butt with demons coming out. Whatever it is you want, okay? I mean, whatever works. The last one tickles my fancy, but we'll probably go with something different. We do have family-friendly RPG here, so I want to make sure that it's family-friendly, okay? I know that's, hey, it's just what I had in mind, okay? All right, so we're gonna go with, I think the most obvious thing is we want to throw in some stairs. I kind of think that there are several ways to go about stairs. I like natural stairs a lot. I think they look kind of cool. So let's go ahead and rotate this and put it right on top like that. Of course, you're going to change the luminosity, the blend modes. We're going to change some stuff, so we'll make sure that it maintains that same texture. Of course, it's a little too light, so we'll bring the darkness down so that it kind of blends in a little bit better. Let's go with that. There we go. So the player, and we're going to create a route. I like to do this. Is what's called your traffic. So the way that I like to do this is set it up by creating a path. So this path goes here, the player goes here, and then probably goes on to here. So this is going to be where our foot traffic is to get to this location. So I'll just go ahead and probably put another staircase right there where the path goes off that first platform. So I'll go ahead and delete that because I know where it goes. And there should be another stair, and I'll change that blend mode to luminosity because I'm wanting to use that texture, and put it down just right there. There we go. It might be a little bit darker, I think. Let's bring the brightness down. There we go. A little bit better. This one, I think, also has to go down just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So now we have the way to get up to this place. Again, I made it asymmetrical on purpose. It fits with the chaos. And we can probably put some more land shapes. Let's put another one maybe over here to kind of give it some, not necessarily symmetry, but at least some slight balance. So I'll just put another larger one just right here, just like that. So at least there's some dynamic to your battle map. So someone had mentioned that they wanted to know how to create more dynamic battle maps. How is it that my players can interact with the environment? Well, one great thing is height. Height difference is useful. Arrows can go farther. You can see better, maybe better success rates. You can sneak up, do surprise attacks, use gravity to your advantage, jumping, lunging. There's all these fun things. So when you're adding height to a map, that's a great way to add more dynamics to a battle so that your players have something to engage with, create more intricate, more dynamic, and more fun combat, right? Because sometimes just a flat surface, just moving back and forth, hacking and slashing can get really boring. Give your players an environment that's immersive. They can jump around. They can do sneak attacks. They can hide behind something. They can pick up something and throw it at your enemy's face. So there's all this fun. You can kick them off into the rift, kick them into a pit, kick them off into some spikes, kick them up against the spikes on the wall, right? All these different options. Give your players something to interact with. You know, maybe there's a platform that's falling apart and you want to back your player into that platform so they plummet to their death. Lots of different fun ways that you can make your players interact and, you know, make it more fun. So keep that in mind when you're making your map, okay? All right. So I'll go in and choose this kind of lighter texture again. I'll rotate it so it's not the same rotation as that one over here. Let me just place it down to make sure that it's right. Set to FG. I'm going to boost my size. Let's take a look. Yep, it's not the same. Perfect. So I'll go in. I'm using a mouse instead of a tablet so that people can see. Think Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat. Fatality. Liu Kang. So the same thing that we did. Now, aren't we just so happy that we saved this texture? So now I can go in and apply it to here, right? Same thing. I'm creating the overall shadow first. Start with in between 30 and 40. Let's go with 47. Let me just check, see how it looks first. Yeah, it looks fine, right? There's that overall first dark shadow that kind of goes around it, right? We do that first, and then we go in with the ambient occlusion, right? So not complex, pretty easy stuff. Go in, ambient occlusion. Let's make it a little bit darker. I really want that to pop out. There we go. So this is the secret for making things do depth. At least in battle maps, there's a different way to depth. Obviously, there's more depth options in isometric because it has a second and a third dimension, while with top down it's just one single dimension, a perfect bird's eye view without much perspective. Though I have seen that people want me to do a tutorial on how to do battle maps with perspective. That means you can see the walls, and I think that would be a great stream. That would be a lot of fun, so we'll probably do that too. Okay, so this one is easy access to kind of get to this top platform. Let's have it to where players maybe have to crawl up, find something on the map to get to the top of this platform. And of course, that would give them a height advantage. If you take whatever with you that helped you to get up there, that can give you a height advantage to whatever gobbly, evil goodies, baddies that are running around, whatever beasties are running around on the main floor, right? So it's always nice to kind of create a section that's not easily accessible so that when your players do access it, they can really use it to their advantage, unless there's something flying around. You can always do that. So think about depths of difficulty, access to certain locations, throwing in things that your players can be immersed with, right? Now, we've done quite a bit here. I think this looks really nice. I think this works out really nicely. So I'll go ahead and save for now. And I'll go ahead and go back up. I'm just switching back and forth between each side, so that way you don't get bored with me just doing one side. So this next side, maybe we want to throw in a central piece that, I don't know, gives you a feeling of life, right? And for me personally, I like that color blue, and I think of water because life is kind of the ingredient for all. Water is the ingredient for all life. So it might be cool to maybe throw in a fountain. Maybe it's got some glowing life tendrils coming out of it. Maybe healing tendrils. Maybe there's a water spirit in there that represents like a god of life. Lots of different options that you can kind of choose from. Right? So maybe I'll go look up a fountain. That might be kind of fun. A hockey fountain. You know, you got to have the hockey fountain. This is a really big puck. I mean, the biggest puck that ever existed. What the puck is this? What the puck is going on here? All right, so we'll put in a nice statue just like right here. You can either have it like underneath kind of all of it, like kind of like this if you wanted to. I think that looks okay. Yeah, that looks kind of fine to me. Yeah, I think that will do good. Yeah, that should do fine. Let's turn off that layer shadow. Well, no, let's keep it. That works fine. I do like this. Let's, however, boost that saturation to give it that really bright blue that I'm looking for. I think that looks cool. And I can even throw in some maybe curved stairs to give it even a more sense of height, right? If I want to show that the fountain is high up on the wall, maybe I want to throw in some kind of staircase that makes it look like it's going up to where that fountain is. And there are some nice circular stairs right here that will work just fine for that. I'm going to put them a layer below, of course, and I'm going to set it up to where at least right about there. Let's make sure I center it right. Right about there should be fine. Let's put another one right here like this. Now, if you're wondering, well, there's a line right there. Don't worry about that. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Don't you worry. Let's put one there. Let's also put one. You know what? Let's put these two together, and then I'm going to transform them instead to kind of conform to this. So what I'll do is transform, change the width just a little bit like that, just a hair. Let me go ahead and zoom in here and take a look. I think that works just fine. This statue needs to be a little bit more over here, I think, because it needs to be on that. Yeah, that works out fine. So we'll make sure to put this back. There we go. I want to make sure that staff's put back up. There we go. I think that will be okay. I'm also going to change this to a different blend mode, to normal, to the luminosity. Pick up that same color underneath. And I can also consider even changing the brightness just a hair to make it look like it's below, at least below that, okay? All right, so we have a nice fountain that leads up to there. And if you don't like that central line, there is some kind of cool little cheats that you can use. Let me place one down right on top like that. And what I'll do is I'll go to the blend mode lighten. And then I might change the brightness just a little bit. There we go. Just to kind of remove some of that line a little bit. There we go. That works just fine. All right, I think it's looking good. It looks cool. We'll probably have some spirits, some tendrils coming out of that. I think that would look kind of cool. I think also we should continue on this kind of notion of adding in more blue. So I might remove some of the statues or give some glow. Let me see here. I did move this. Let's add these glows right here. Copy, paste. I see another statue right here. So let's just go ahead, bring it down a size, copy, paste, and put in a little bit more blue because I want to continue adding a little bit more color and a little bit more interest to it. Now, I don't know if this color works well with this gold. I'm not sure. I might have to change it to white instead. Maybe that would work better. I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and change them to white. Bring the brightness all the way up. I'm not sure. I don't really know. I think for now, we'll stick with that for now. We can change it as we go, okay? Let's also grab some bigger light sources because we want to show an overall residual glow. So what I like to do is just take another light source, bring the opacity down a little bit, and then, of course, I'm going to make sure I put them on layer 5. In fact, I'm going to take all my lights right now, every single light, and I'm going to bring them to layer 5. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want whatever filter I'm going to use to blotch out or to diminish some of that light. So I'll put my filters on layer 4 to protect those light sources from getting diminished, because you don't really want to do that, right? Now these are paths, I believe. So what I'll do is I'll select all the paths, and I will also put them at layer +5, so that way they will not be affected by any filters that I end up using. Now I can go in and take those light sources and bring the opacity down anywhere between 50 and 60 is fine, and then put them on layer 5, and I'm creating a residual glow. So I have the lights here, and I want to create some kind of residual glow here, and I'll bring the opacity down a little bit more. There we go. Let's go with that one. It's set to normal, so what I should do is change the blend mode. Let's go with overlay, and then I can bring the opacity down. There we go. Let's put another one right there, and another one right here. Let's keep adding more, another one right there. There we go. Okay, so now we have at least some residual glow on top of the original light source. And I probably want to do the same with these ones as well. So I'll just use that same light source, but change it over to green instead. So I'll go to hue, find that green. There we go. It's set to overlay. Perfect. Bring the opacity down, and I'll place it on top of each one of these so that way that residual glow shows up a little bit on the wall. So we'll go back, one here, 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 and there should be one more right there. There we go. Let's take a step back and see how that looks. Oh yeah, I dig it. Yeah. I dig it. We're going to go ahead and save it. Where are we at for time? 11:33. Whew. Man. Well, I hope none of you are in mind, but it might go over just a little bit longer. Hey, Spook. Yay. Awesome. Another master has arrived. With so many masters in one room, I'm beginning to feel impotent here. There's too many great minds in this room. There can only be one. Just kidding. All right, here we go. Yeah, sweet. I dig it. Yeah, this is looking cool. Now, one thing also I think I want to do is I want to incorporate this same texture, only the lighter version, because this ground is super, I feel like it's a bit busy, so it's nice to throw in some different things. So if I go back to textures and I kind of grab this light marble tile simple, not the rustic one, we could do that maybe closer to the rift. But right here, we'll use this one. And I'm going to use the edgy brush because the edgy brush is cool. And I'm going to go in like this. And I'm just going to throw in some random tiles just to kind of break up that. I know that I want symmetry, but personally, I kind of like this better when you throw in some kind of random little kind of square bits, and then we can do the same thing. The edgy kids are cool. You are I'm a legend. Oh, I don't know about that. We got a lot of legends in this room. Okay, so now I think what I'll do is I will use that kind of broken up one right here. Notice how this is kind of broken up. And I will also change the brightness just a hair, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the edge is kind of has this dark kind of feel to it, this kind of dark edge. I'll go ahead and undo that. 80 something is a bit too bright. I'll increase the size, and I'm just going to create this kind of like darker edge along right here like this. I'm going to use that edgy brush. Just make sure that the very edge is getting that. And it's kind of creating a bevel. You notice that now it looks like there's a little bit of a bevel there. That's great. We want that. I'll go in and do it a little bit more. Maybe even go off. Maybe even create some kind of tendrils kind of going off like that. There we go. All right. Sweet. There we go. And then just some rando dots. Just throw in some randos. There we go. All right. So now you kind of have this kind of cool, nice edge right here, which is what I was aiming for. I kind of wanted a nice darker edge here. We kind of create this illusion of a bevel, or it looks like it broke off. So that kind of helps. There we go. I think that works fine. That'll do it. Nice. All right. Same thing. We can do that same thing to this edge right here. Just throw in that darker texture right there. Let's make it a little bit darker. There we go. Nice. So we're kind of creating that kind of beveled look to it. There we go. Nice. The edgy kids are in town. That's us. Edgelords unite. All right, here we go. All right, let's take a step back. Cool. Yeah, I do like it. It looks like maybe it kind of sloughed off. It's going down a little bit, kind of disappears into kind of the rift. So I kind of dig that. That's going to work out great. Hey, first time for no, never mind. Okay. I did not mean to announce that. All right, here we go. All right, let's take a look. I think this looks good so far. So far, so good. We've added the right things in. So now we need to create a central piece for our hell. And, you know, we can go ahead and just take a look at what we got for options. There's a lot of different things that we can go with here. Turn off stairs here. All right. So this is one of those moments where I'm actually going to like just meander through here, kind of find what I'm looking at. Nothing to see here. GIF with explosion. Yes, exactly. Boom. I love it. So glad everyone here has a great sense of humor. I don't know about you guys, but when I've played D&D with some people, and it's great to play serious, but you know what? Throwing in a little bit of humor is a great way to really kind of just make it light, especially after you've done a really difficult boss battle or a difficult fight or whatever, and you just, you know, you throw in something funny. I mean, what I definitely recommend is throwing in just a little bit of humor, whether it's a zombie goat that's chasing after your players or whatever. It's nice to have a little bit of fun in your game. Doesn't mean that you can't have dark, serious, but I've kind of noticed that you're not going to find a lot of players, all the same players, who are exactly on the same page about just being super serial, all right? Why so serious? It's all right to have serious moments in your game. I like dark fantasy. I like things to be dark and kind of scary, but at the same time, you know, it a little bit kind of gets daunting on your players a little bit. So throw in funny moments. It doesn't mean your whole campaign has to be hysterical, right? It's just throwing in a moment or two to kind of make it a little bit lighthearted. And I personally just like that. It's nice to make it just a little lighthearted, okay? Right now, I'm going to take a bunch of pillars and have them falling down. Look like they fell off. You know, this is the kind of broken kind of side, so it's nice to throw in some broken pillars. I'm going to also have it to where maybe the ones that are fallen down are a little bit darker, so at least it kind of creates some kind of illusion of depth there. This one can be a little bit brighter because it's higher up from that one. There we go. So we have some broken pillars. If it's too much, you can just delete it and just have that one. So this one's fully operational. Up to you. Yes, well, you are a clown, so of course there's going to be humor involved. All right, so let's keep going, all right? You know, I kind of like some of these. These looks cool. This looks cool. I know for a fact there's some crazy portals in here. We could type in portal. Oh, no, oopsie, only used on this map. That would explain that. Ah, here we go. Got this nice portal right here, so maybe like this leads up to this portal right here or something like that. Oh, excuse me. That was just rude. Now, if you don't like that purple, we can go in and change the hue, of course. It can be that green. It can be red, purplish, blue, green, whatever you think works best. For me, continuity is nice, so we could go with this kind of purple color or the green. I don't know, I can let you guys decide. Purple and green do work well together, so that's an epic pillow fight, 100%. I don't know, I think this portal thing kind of works fine here. You could have maybe creatures are coming out of this portal, flying or terrestrial, meaning on land, walking, bipedal, quadrupeds, bipeds, whatever it is you want coming out of here. I don't care. They could be flying on a magic whoopee cushion. I don't care. Whatever works for you. Magical flying whoopee cushions are cool. Not very good for stealth, though, because you're going to be making flatulence noises every time you fly around. And people are going to be like, dude, he's over there. Seriously. All right, so maybe you don't want a flying whoopee cushion as a mount. Maybe you do. I don't personally, but hey, whatever works, right? Oh, yeah. You want some tentacles coming out of this? Oh, I dig that. You know I'm down. You know I'm down. Right, yes. All right, we'll go with, add in some tenties here. There we are, the tentacles. And you know, we're going to boost the saturation and kind of give them that purple look, right? There we go. And you know what? I think we should also give it a glow. So let's go with shadow, object, go with the purples. There we go. Glowy, glowy tentacles. They're coming for you. Watch out, everybody. They're coming for you. All right, let's throw in some tentacles, shall we? Boom. Yeah, there we go. Could be a little bit. Oh, no, let's make them brighter. Make them brighter. Let's boost that saturation. Maybe boost the No, I'm not sure. Let's take a look. Let's change the blend mode, maybe. Darken, multiply, lighten. We can go through. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, that's it. That's it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, kind of this evil, eerie looking, scary tentacles coming out. There we go. Yeah. Now we're talking. Spooky. Super spooky. Put one over there. Put another one in there probably. Come on, there we go. Another one right there. Oh, yeah. I dig this. Now we're talking. Da, da, da. There you go. Okay, that is, well, I don't know what's coming out of there, but they've got way too many tentacles. Now we're talking. Got some evil there. We also want to probably take a light source, because this is a lot of light coming from here. So if you're ever curious about when to add a light source, if you have a stamp that's emanating light, probably a good idea to add a light source, right? So add some light. So I'll change it back to that kind of purplish color. I'll look for a purple color. There we go. Let's go. That looks fine. And I'm going to go ahead and make it nice and big and put it in front of the whole area where the light is being projected. And of course, go with layer +5. So boost that up. There we go, there we go, there we go. So there's a little bit of eerie light kind of just floating right there. Perfect. So we got that. Nice, 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 nice. 122 changes. Oh yeah, it's time to save. My spidey senses are going off. We need to do some saves. We're having a hell of a good time though, right? Oh, 15 minutes, and there's no way I'll get it done in time. But that's okay. We just go over maybe 15 or 20 minutes, okay? It's hard, you know, it takes time to make a semi-decent map. That's just the way it is. There's just no getting around it, right? Okay. So let's think about what we've added here. So there are a couple things you want to keep in mind. Whenever you have like a room, like a fallen pillar, a broken wall, whatever's ruined, you're going to think that there's going to be rubble, right? So let's make sure that we rubble. All right, it's time to rubble. You should always throw in some rubble, okay? So I recommend that there are a couple ways. One, you could probably use a texture. I don't know if there are stones. This bone alpha might work fine. Let me go in real quick and select all. Let me look for some rocks in here. I'm seeing debris, leaves. There's that stuff there. You know what? Let's just use a stamp, okay? So what I'll do now is I'll go in and just type in rock or stone. Nope, not rock, stone. Man, am I stoned or something? I don't understand. Why is it not working? There we go. So we have, let's go with this broken. Yeah, 15, 20 minutes. Do it now. Or 20 hours. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. All right, so now, of course, if you're going to have something broken lying around, it's always nice to throw in some broken pieces. And, of course, vary them in size, stack them. So I'll just throw a couple, maybe even throw some on the ground as well. So it's always nice. This is what's going to be helpful to you when you are making a ruined section. You want to make sure there's rubble, right? Because if something breaks, if something erodes, it leaves a lot of granulations, little pieces of rubble and rock lying around. That is how erosion works, all right? There's going to be some action going on. So be sure that you throw in that stuff, right? I'm also going to bring the brightness down and put some down there because it's on the lower level. Probably not a bad idea to make it the same relative darkness as the texture below. Otherwise, these pieces are going to pop out too much. So I throw in some rubble down there. All three of these pieces are a little too the same in size, so I'll go ahead and change them. And I'll even put one below. So I'll put one down below like that. So it looks like there's some below it. There we go. And we'll go do the same over here. Though this time I can put them about the same darkness, but put them right underneath because they should be in the shadow, right? So we'll put a couple there, one more right there. There we go. Okay. Let's actually put that one underneath. There we go. Okay. Let's take a step back. 44 changes. Yeah, this looks good. So we do have this dark. So this is where a lot of your minions and your villains, or maybe some minions, are going to be coming out of this portal. Maybe this Cthulhu, this kind of character. Maybe if you get too close to the portal, because, you know, maybe your players want to cheat, bottleneck, and just kill them right out of the bat as they try to get out of the portal to give them the surprise attack advantage. No, these tentacles are going to keep your players from getting in too close so they can cheat and kind of just bottleneck all these minions that are flying out, right? So factor that in, right? Think about what your players are going to do. It's always nice as a DM to know a little bit about your players, right? And the best way to get to know them is just to observe how they react to certain scenarios, challenges, and battles, right? And believe me, that's the quickest way to get to know one of your players is to see what they do in battle. Trust me, that's the quickest way. That's the quickest way. So this looks cool. I'm kind of digging this. I think what we want to do is probably just add maybe some other minor details to it so that way this side doesn't look completely plain. So there's a lot of different things we can do. We can stick with the skull theme, and maybe we can line some of the natural staircases with skulls or bones. You can add more light sources. You could add some weird, scary lights. We could throw in a pit somewhere. I mean, there's all these different options that you can kind of choose from. So we'll go ahead and just figure out what we want to do. I did notice that there's no ambient occlusion on my staircase. And so it kind of looks like it's kind of flat. So I'll go in and fix that real quick. It's always nice to go in and fix your boo-boos. And believe me, there's going to be a lot of them here, all right? There we go. Right. Cool. By throwing in a little bit of ambient occlusion on that stair, it kind of makes it look like it pops out. And the same thing with this one. I noticed that there's no... Oopsie, I am using the wrong texture too, I noticed. Or the wrong tool. There we go. Get in some shadow right along here. So that way it kind of creates some depth. There we go. Perfect. All right. Awesome. Oopsie, I did not mean to do that. Let's fix that. Undo. There we go. All right. Where are we at? 57 changes? Nope, we're doing fine. All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and throw in some skulls or something kind of scary on this platform. Like if you're going to have an inaccessible spot, you have to entice your players to want to find out how to get to that spot by throwing in a goodie, okay? You throw in a goodie, a doggy treat, shall we say, just to entice your players. Am I implying that your players are dogs? Absolutely. And that's okay. I'm just kidding. But you still want to throw in a doggy treat, a Scooby snack from time to time to kind of, you want to incentivize your players, all right? Okay, you don't want them to be bored to death. Like, what am I doing in this place? I hate it here. I just want to look at the rain. I'm going to starve to death at my campsite because I'm bored, okay? So you got to give them incentives. Give them something, okay? Give them something. I don't care what it is. Throw in a chest maybe at the top with some gold or something. You know, like throw in a chest or something. Whatever you think is best, right? You want to entice your players with something. Throw in a chest. Put it up there somewhere. All right? Maybe not that. Maybe there's a magic, a powerful weapon, a portal, whatever, right? So you want to entice your players to explore the map. So throw some Scooby snacks in some spots from time to time. Am I doing... All I'm doing is suffering. What the hell is this? Well, we are doing the evil side, okay? So, hey. Well, you know what'd be kind of cool is let's create something that interacts with the portal, okay? Let's say that there's a platform on this other section that has a book, and you have to recite an incantation to close the portal in intervals, right? So that way it gives your players some time to explore, try to find a way to get to the other side, maybe to fight the minions without more coming out to get to you. So we'll throw in maybe a kind of platform, a dais with some scripture on it, and that is going to interact with our demon tentacle portal. Yeah. All right, so we throw down this thing right here. I'm going to change it to a different color too. Maybe we can, to show that it is related to this thing, I'm going to change the hue to where it's around the same purples so that way it kind of makes it to where it is connected. If you want your players to show that there's a connection between the portal and the book, you want to do some things to make it look like the portal and the book are connected, okay? So we'll have the book facing the portal as well, so that way it kind of is kind of obvious that what you're involved with is the portal here. All right, the next step is to maybe create something, some stairs or something that lead up to it. And so I do believe there is kind of this interesting kind of stair piece. Let me see if I can find it. That one right there, these natural stairs. This will work just fine. Okay, and we'll of course change the blend mode to luminosity, and of course bring the brightness down. There we go. We'll put it up here like this, put it down a layer. There we go. And I'll put it just right up top of this staircase right here. So you go up this staircase to kind of get to the book. There we go. I kind of dig that. That'll work just fine. And I just want to make sure that there's an eye shot between the portal and that. Now, one thing I don't like though is that the rotation is kind of weird. I'm wondering if I should face it the other way. Let's go this way instead, or this way, just to test out. Just curious to see how it looks that way. I almost kind of like it better that way because they're rotated at the same angle, and I don't really like that. So, because let's talk about some balance. All right. So whenever you're making a composition on your map, something you want to focus on is the overall balance that your map has. And I'll explain and show you how that works in just a moment. I'll use paths to kind of demonstrate. So before I had it like this. And the one thing that I didn't like about that was, and I'll show you what I mean, was that this is kind of angled like that, and this one has the same angle as well, and it kind of looks weird. It's almost like that doesn't kind of work for me, right? I don't really care for that. But when I flipped it around, I kind of felt like this worked a little bit better. Like this works better. Does it have the same angle? Kind of. Yeah, it does. But it's because one is the other way and one is over here like this. It creates a little bit more balance, a little bit better. So it's always nice to factor in your placement, right? And it also, the negative space kind of creates this curve like this. And curves are beautiful. A little bit of curve in the negative space works great. And it's still plenty of room for your players to kind of walk around, right? So I kind of like that. The next step is I'll probably use that same kind of texture that we used for the ground, and I'll make it a little bit darker. And I'll go in with that grid, and I'll just throw in that texture because I kind of like that dark. I kind of like that texture a little bit. And it won't have so much of those crazy artifacts in it. There we go. Cool. Much better. There we go. Yep. Oh, let's fix a little bit over here too. My mistake. There we go. Okay, cool. Awesome. Where are we at for time? 1:56? Yeah, we got there's about 30 minutes in there. Are people all right with just an extra 30 minutes? Let me know. All right. Nice. All right. Yeah, I think people are going to be okay with another 30 minutes because we do need to put some action going on in this one. And one of the ways I think I'm going to do that is by just creating some more pillars, I think, because pillars are something that you can hide behind. They're a great way to add elongated shadows, and they're great for symmetry. So if I add in just a couple more pillars at the top here, you'll notice that you would now have some things to hide around. Maybe you want to hide behind a pillar and then attack a creature that's coming around the corner. Lots of different options. So lots of different things that you can do. Okay, let's take a look here. All right, yeah, I do like those pillars. We are going to throw in some ambient occlusion also into the other areas. So let's go ahead and put some ambient occlusion along these walls so that they can really pop out, of course. Bring the size down. You got to do the ambient occlusion. Always do ambient occlusion. Super important to get things right. Okay, let's go ahead and add that ambient occlusion. There we go. All right. The ambient occlusion is always a must. Can't stress it enough. Let me take a step back. You can already see the huge difference between the left and the right side. Great little comparison here. We're doing a good versus evil, guys. All right, there we go. Looking good. Kind of hard to do with a mouse, but if you just train yourself, you can do it. Oh, got it. All right, sweet. And we're going to do the whole thing. Oh my goodness. And of course, I'm going to do the same thing to the pillars because the pillars don't have enough shadow around them to make them look like they're popping out. So of course, we're going to want to add a little bit of ambient occlusion around there. And if we want, we can do projected shadows as well. And I'll show you how to do that just a moment. We could have the fountain be the major light source, and then the shadows are emanating from that. So that's the way we could go about that. Let me just take a look first to make sure that there is a noticeable dark line around each pillar, because you really want to make sure that they look like they're popping out. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, that looks good. All right. So let's go ahead and add that light source. We'll throw in shadows, and then we're going to add in filters, and that will probably be good. I think just this should be enough for our centerpiece. We've added enough here. I think that works well. Let's go ahead and throw down a light source. I'm going to make it kind of a different blue, I think. Yeah, this works fine. Let's go with hue. Let's make it a little bit of a darker blue if I can pull it out. That works fine. Let's try that. I guess should be fine. Put that right here. There we go, right on top. And there are all kinds of fun things you can do. You can play with blend modes to see what you come up with. So you can go through the various blend modes, and sometimes you can get some really interesting colors when you do it right. So we'll go through soft light, hard light, difference. Ooh, that's trippy looking. Exclusion, hue, color. So there, see, this added some blue color to it. I kind of like that. Let's dig that. That looks good. There we go. Okay, so now if you're going to have some light sources right here, then we might want to consider obviously throwing in some shadows. So this thing right here is projecting a lot of light, okay? And if that's the case, then we probably want to make sure that there's a lot of light in the overall composition. So we'll throw this light source right there, and that way it's emanating that light. Now the next step is throwing in the shadow. So what we'll do is we'll just take a stamp and use it as a shadow. So I'll go with a pillar. I'm going to pick this one right here. This works just fine. First things first, we're going to turn the shadow off. We don't need it on. We're going to change the brightness all the way to black, so it's nothing there. Then we're going to change the blur, so it's blurry, and then I'm going to bring the opacity down. All right, now I can go ahead and place this down like this and make sure the shadow is below the pillar, and I'm going to make sure it's lined up properly. There we go, the light source, another one right here, going this way, I believe, and then the other one going this way, I believe. Let me check, there we go. Yeah, that looks about right. I might have to rotate it just a little bit more. There we go, of course. And I probably will have to change the opacity of these as well, I think. They're a little too dark. Bring them down a little bit more. There we go, that works fine. All right, so now you have some shadows if you want, or if you just want the shadows to have all be in one direction, you can do that too, like this. Technically not accurate, but it looks more interesting. You can do that too if you want. You can put a light source somewhere, so where they're all facing the same direction. Up to you. Lots of different methods that you can kind of go about doing it. So it's super up to you how you want to go about doing it, okay? Let's add in a blue summoning circle, and then we'll start working on the last stuff, and that is the filters. Oh, that blue one will work just fine. I'm going to put it down right in front like this. So there's a kind of a portal. And then I'm going to change the blend mode and the hue. Let's go with that one. And then we'll go with darken, lighten, color burn. Ooh, that one's kind of cool. Ooh, I kind of like this lighten one. This is kind of cool. There we go. So kind of a summoning circle right here in front. Not so sure. That's too many circles, actually. Yeah. Because you got a half circle here. Don't want to do too many circles. Too many repetitive shapes can kind of throw it off. I think this is actually just pretty good as is. Unless you all see something that you want added to it, let me know, and I will add that, okay? So just keep me posted what you're interested in. But I think we can go ahead and now throw in filters. I think we can throw in filters. This looks good. Oh, and you know what? Maybe some colors in the rift. You know, it's the right type of month for some rainbow colors. So let's throw in some certain textures from Fantasy Battle Maps. And because I'm using a texture that's not kind of totally different from the other style, there's kind of this nice selection of phthalites. So it's perfect for me to throw in some phthalites. And I'm just going to create kind of a rainbow kind of effect down at the bottom here. I like this one. Throw in maybe a green right here. I like that. Yeah. Kind of this rainbow void, shall we say. I don't really know, but I like it. Throw in some yellow there. Heck yeah. I want some glowy lights in the chasm, okay? There better be glowy lights in the chasm. I'll be mad. Give me dem glowy lights, okay? All right. Done with that. Let's add in filters. When it comes to fantasy battle map or watercolor battle maps, I like to use the watercolor paper. It specifically textures meant for this. If you have a hard time seeing it, we can go in real quick. Go to watercolor paper, and it's already at 35%, so I can go ahead and increase it, and you'll notice the artifacts from the paper, very noticeable. It gives it a little bit more of a papery feel to it, and I like that. So that's step one. I like using that papery feel to it, so that works good. The next step is to use a clarity filter, because clarity filter really allows the color to pop out. So watch what happens when I turn off the clarity filter. Boom. Gives it a little bit more oomph to it, and I really like that. So go back to clarity and maybe go up to about 75%. I think that should work fine. Pops out quite a bit. Next step is I like to also use a vignette filter as well. Now, because the way that I have it set up is the walls are not very you're not interacting with them a lot. They're just visuals. So throwing in a vignette can put some focus onto the central parts of the map. So if I throw in a vignette, we go to texture, filters, open up the catalog. Now, if you don't see every filter there, don't worry about that. Just, it might be in a different pack. So I open up this vignette, and it's going to create some dark around the edges, and I kind of like that. So I'll throw in a little bit more. So a little bit nice dark edges. That looks nice. I kind of like that one. And if you want, you can throw in maybe one more filter, up to you, and you can do a lot of different things. Let's go with HSBC. I want to show you a quick trick with HSBC so that if you want, you can come up with multiple maps at once. So if you don't want this to be a good versus evil map, you could turn it into a different map, like a Fey. So if I apply HSBC and I go to full opacity, 100%, and I go to hue, I can change the color of the whole map to whatever color I want. So it can change. So you can change that hue. So now I have an entirely kind of different map than the one I had before. The color changes it, right? So if I go back to hue and I go with maybe this color, or if I want to go with maybe this color. So playing with HSBC and hue is super helpful if you want to turn maybe your map into a Fey, an underworld, an ethereal, a light, whatever it is you want, right? Lots of different options with HSBC, right? So lots and lots of different options. The last one I can mention is that you can obviously change the saturation to where it's just black and white. So if you just want to make it printer friendly, you can change the contrast. If you want, you can change the brightness. Lots of different options that you can kind of choose from, right? Maybe you want to boost the saturation to really give it some really bright colors. You can totally do that, right? You can boost the contrast to make the artifacts that you have all over the map pop out more by boosting the contrast like that. Okay, so it's up to you and how you want to go about it, but HSBC is a wonderful filter to really help you to change things around. So I think that is it. I think this turned out pretty good. There's probably a lot more that could be added here, but you get the general idea, right? You figured out that, I started with a basic wall first, no decorations. From there, I decided to depend on the theme of the room, whatever it might be. So if it's like an evil room, then maybe you want to throw in skulls, some crazy, scary looking wall stuff. So it all just depends. The option is up to you. So, but I just want to give the major walkaway is just setting up on how to create the themes. The themes are absolutely important. So it's always good to think about first the theme of the map, and that will help you to decide what stamps, what your color theme is going to be, the overall layout. All those things are super important. So it's really not that complex, super easy. So we're all done with the stream. I'll quickly mention what we got going on next week. Because there'll be no more streams for the rest of this week, but that means I will be popping out some time lapses. So I'm excited to pop out some time lapses. Those are going to be fun. So I'll try to make some easy ones like taverns, rivers, roads, so that way you have a nice, easy guide time lapse that shows you how to make these simpler maps. Because I know that I kind of get carried away and I get kind of caught up in the artistic feel of a map and I kind of lose track of function. So, because really the functional maps are going to be the maps that people are going to be cloning and using the most. So it's nice for you, if you are a creator, if you are a private contractor and you're trying to make your daily bread by selling your maps, keep in mind this one thing. It's okay to show off your artistic talent, make a few maps that are just artistically absolutely gorgeous, but also make a bunch of maps that are really simple. Very, very simple, like a road, a river crossing, a tavern, an inn, a shop. By making these simple maps, more users or people will want to buy or get those maps, because what people are looking for is a reusable map, right? This road map can be changed to a Fey road map by just changing the hue, right? So always remember that if you're a private contractor, you're trying to make your daily bread, make sure that you have, don't just make artistically pleasing maps, but also utility maps, because I want you to pay your bills, because believe me, nothing is cheap. So make sure you pay those bills and make sure that you make a plethora of maps so that people have options and that they have these kind of more utility functional maps. Okay, just a little heads up, because I want you to feed your kids and yourselves and have a roof over your head, because that's super important. So please remember, create utility maps too. Don't just show off your art skill. All right, and believe me, I trust you. You've got great art skill. All right, so next week on the 20th, which is a Monday, we're going to be showing you guys how to make your own map style, which is going to be going through various styles, going through how to make certain types of maps, showing how to make perspective style top-down, or if you want to make a RPG style top-down map, or if you want to know how to make certain kind of frames. All that stuff's going to be involved in how to create your own style stream on Monday the 20th. And there's going to be a stream on the 22nd, Wednesday, how to create city blocks part 3. Super cool about that. And then the last one for next week is how to create guilds and shops. We're not going to be making interiors. We're going to be making exteriors. So I'll show you how to make those. We can do interiors for a different stream, because believe me, it's time consuming to throw both interior and exterior. So expect guilds and shops exteriors on the 23rd of a Thursday. Okay. All right. Well, hey, thank you, everybody. You've been great. Please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making. And I will see you all next week. Great job, everyone. Thank you so much. I will see you all soon. Auf Wiedersehen.